There. So the Dunning-Krueger effect says that you think you're better than someone else just because of your own ignorance. Meaning, and that means you overestimate your own skill level, you fail to recognize someone is better than you, and you don't want to accept that some things are your own fault, meaning that, let's say you make a huge mistake in a game that pretty much might even have costed the game for your team. However, you will not, no matter what, see the inability of your stuff. Now, this applies to everybody because we all have this small guy in the back of our head saying, it's not your fault, it's someone else's fault. Like, you have to learn how to forget about that guy in general. Just forget him. Because in many cases, you will find that there is always something that you can have improved, you can have done differently, which would lead to a better outcome. Now, the problem here is that you will have to psychologically break yourself away from your general way of thinking to actually accept your own mistake. Now, for some people it comes with age, some people can just do it. But overall, it will always have to be you that takes the first step to actually break away from the Kruger effect. Now, even if, let's say, even if you're in Elo Hell and you are plagued by people with a lower skill level, there's always something you can in general improve. And blaming others and raging at them doesn't really help overall. Like, A, that just proves the point of the Dunning-Krueger effect, and B, it shits on the morale of the entire team, meaning that people tend to play worse under negative pressure. Positive pressure, on the other hand, makes you improve and leap beyond what you're capable of. So, whenever you're in a game, don't just start blaming someone for something that happened. Like, let's say that someone gave a kill with buffs to someone when he thought that both of you are gonna act on it and kill someone. Instead, it usually turns out that one person dies, the other starts blaming him, and he doesn't even want to see the fault that lies behind from the person itself. So, like, Elo is something you climb with time and effort. Some people start off at a little bit higher Elo, some at a little bit lower, but in general, it all comes down to the fact that you have to work to get your Elo. Yes, you can be carried, but how much of that Elo is truly yours if someone actually dual queues with you and you get up to high rating? It doesn't really help you to establish a point for, what's the word? Not stress relief, but the point where you actually find that here I'm safe, I can stay at this Elo no matter what happens, and I'll be fine. I can get up or down, but to this point I will return no matter what. And like, this effect is actually overall the biggest problem of League of Legends currently. Dunning-Krueger effect in general just shows how big of a problem it really is. Because every single game there is a moment, one or two or three or I don't know, hundreds, where someone starts raging at someone when the fault mainly or usually lies with both. Now, one person doesn't accept that fact, and it's his own loss, because it is the mistakes we make that make us improve our gameplay, not the amazing plays we do, because the amazing plays will happen when you start making less mistakes. So with mistakes comes experience, because then you can actually change things. Like, I've talked about this before, you should never ever assume anything without logic involved. So let's say some people assume that someone else is a worse player than them just because his Elo is, let's say, 20 or 30 points lower. That's not the case. Like, the Elo boundaries between a slight difference of skill should be somewhere around 200 Elo. But beyond that, you should never assume that someone is a worse player than you. The best mind approach to get to a higher Elo is to always play on the same level, meaning that you have to think that everybody is on par or even better than you, meaning that you will not make the mistakes you usually do when you think somebody's lower. So as long as you can keep the proper mindset for this, this effect in general will not bother you at all. So don't rage, don't cry, ask for help only if help is required, but never call someone worse than you, because then you are the proven fact for this effect. And like this applies to everybody, including me, everybody. We all had that moment when we went ape shit on someone else just because of a mistake that in general both of us made. It wasn't just his mistake, it was our mistake. So you have to approach the MOBA perspective from another point of view. Yeah, it doesn't matter what champion, but you have to look at the MOBA as a machine. You are 5 people, you have to work together and to play together. Now, if one of 5 people will have a psychological breakdown, then the entire machine will fall apart. It is possible to win 4v5, yes, but in general, it doesn't happen that often. The odds are against you. So one of the things that should never be done is just dragging your team down by yelling at them or flaming them or chatting too much, because that takes away time from the game in general. Like, the concept of elo hell is usually the fact that yes, there are a lot of people that are unskilled or haven't really found out how to play the game properly yet. But some people still climb out of it, no problem. Some has to do with luck, which is also part of a game, yes. The RNG factor in LoL, the biggest RNG factor currently, is matchmaking. When you queue up to a game, what team you get, does this work? There's a guy in chat that says some things, but Riot cannot remove something that is artificially created by players. Like, elo hell is created by players, meaning that you have a huge threshold of people on the lower levels of the game that there is no way to remove. Every game has it. Like, it's like removing like a ghost or apparition. It cannot happen. So elo hell is, well, in general part of the game. Now, it didn't really help that, let's say, I don't know, 60% of the population from EU East went to West, and that kind of broke down both the servers. One is overpopulated, the other is underpopulated, and that actually creates it even further for elo hell. But there is technically no change they can do, because if they want to keep it competitive, they had to give the option of transfer. So yes, a lot of people suffer because of that, but at the same time, League of Legends was created as a competitive game, so it's just the after effect of the game. And a mindset of quitting the game just because something isn't righteous or right doesn't really help, because it's just the way it is. Like, it's like real life, let's put it this way. There's always someone that will take advantage of someone else, and this is the same thing here. You have a chance to, yes, you are currently, let's say, does this work? You're at 800 elo. It looks like there's no way out. It is a living hell. But look at the bright side. If you actually manage to break out of it, you will have an advantage over other players. The problem is elo hell will not disappear when Season 2 ends. It will just restart anew at Season 3. Now, I don't know how this discussion went to elo hell, but the general concept of elo hell is pretty much that a lot of people went under the threshold of rank and got it pretty much into a big pool where it's extremely hard to crawl out, because the level of players isn't that amazing, and you will generally be stuck there. Even if you have some knowledge of the game or quite a lot of knowledge, it is hard to crawl out of it at that point. So now, enough with elo hell. Let's talk a little bit more about the Dunning-Krueger effect. So blaming, flaming, raging All of these things point to this effect. So let's look at this way. What can be done to actually help us get past the Dunning-Krueger effect? A, we should try to communicate pretty much openly with our teammates, meaning that we talk to them, we discuss. Yeah, it's not about flaming. The thing is, if you actually sometimes reply to a flame, you're adding fuel to the fire. It will just exponentially get worse from that point on, worse and worse, until the entire team is already like falling apart, yelling at each other, and so on and so on. Now, if that can be kept to a minimum, the efficiency of the game will go up tremendously for your side. Like, it doesn't matter, you should never try to flame the other team either, because then you're riling up yourself for something that can happen. Meaning, don't flame, it's bad karma, let's put it this way. Don't flame either side, it's bad karma, there's always a way to come back in League of Legends. And having a verbal dispute with other teammates or enemy team doesn't really help in that part. So this is thing one. Avoid any unnecessary banter, chatter, rage, flame at each other and at enemy team. Now, number two, try to accept your own mistakes. Now, this is extremely important and extremely hard. We all have moments where we just want to say, this wasn't my mistake, I just backed off and my teammate died or they stole Baron, and so on and so on. Yes, that is part of it, but at some point you are at fault for backing off, because there was a chance to actually win that fight if you didn't back off, let's say. Or there was a chance that if you went in, the other team would back off because they would be afraid of taking that engagement. And this happens every game. Like, okay, let's assume that you are 15-8 with Trinda, and you ultimately lose the game. Well, let's look at this from this point of view. There is only one really fed target, meaning that 4 other people are under-farmed, under-geared, under-leveled, while you have level 18 with all the items. Now, as I said before, it is a machine. League of Legends is a machine in general, and you want to have an even amount of farm through all members. That's when most of the efficiency comes out of the game. In theory, Trinda can kill 3 to 4 people in with one health bar, but it still doesn't matter, that because your entire team can do nothing while you are trying to kill the entire enemy team, and that ultimately leads to why the game is lost. It has nothing to do with the fact that you are extremely fed and they are underfarmed. It means that at one point you could have helped your team more than you actually did. So maybe the team can be blamed for having a bad game or just went extremely bad, but there's always something you could have done better in general to improve the farm or the levels of the team, meaning that at some point when you stayed on lane and kept on farming, you could have gone to mid or bot and help the team out, like give away a kill, don't claim a kill when you actually don't need it. If you're already ahead by 2k or 3k yourself, there is no need for you to not give away a kill to someone else that needs it more than you. And this is also this effect again, because you assume that everybody else is better than you because you have positive stats. That's not so. They're just behind because A, they could have been ganged, they could have done a mistake. There's a very many factors could have happened. And by, let's say, taking more kills or taking farm from someone else, you're not improving the overall balance of your team. You're actually making it worse, because that's like putting all eggs in one basket. Let's use this metaphor. If all kills are at one person, that makes the entire stability of the team really low. Because if one person dies, in this case, let's say it's Tryndamere, the rest of the team can do nothing. So that's exactly what's happening. One of the most important things. mistakes are made without people realizing that a mistake is made. People usually at your elo, does this work, don't give kills to others when they can claim a kill. Like, try it out. You and I can play a 1v1 after this daily is done, if you really wish to. I have nothing against 1v1s and it doesn't really matter to me. The point is, mistakes are made, nothing you can do about it, and you have just to learn on the mistakes you made to improve upon that. And this is like the biggest psychological factor in League of Legends for you. To actually accept that you did something wrong, or that you have done something better. Let's not call it wrong, let's call it better. For instance, yes, that one extra hit could have done that extra hit could have changed something. Sorry, I'm having a discussion with someone on the chat. That could have changed something quite a lot. Now we come to point 3. Practice makes perfect. No one starts off as, let's say, Dyrus. Not Dyrus. Okay, Dyrus or Odd One or Reginald or Alexis or just enter a name here. There is always a fact of training. Everybody has to train to get to a point where they are now. Like, you can blame whatever you want on bad team composition, on having a bad day, bad game, but in general, the only way to improve is to train. And if you're not willing to train because you are blaming everything away on others, you will pretty much never improve. It's just the way it is. It's just the way anything works, any job, any chore. By doing it, you improve. By blaming all mistakes on someone else, you will not improve because you are not realizing that something is wrong. Now, how to actually break away from this mentality? I would say the best 2 choices are: find something to hold on to mentally, in the regard that if something goes wrong, just go to a happy place pretty much. A place like that you enjoy or like in your head, and not care about anything that happens around you. In that I mean still care about what happens, but don't care for the flame or rage that comes to you from every side. You have to avoid it, ignore it, and just think about a good spot, because after a while you'll notice that it makes you play better, like, or listen to a song that you really like. Anything like that will improve you tremendously, meaning that the Dunning-Krueger effect will be not neutralized but crippled, and doing that over and over and over again will minimize it as much as possible, because no matter how high you are, you can be 2.6k, nobody is there, but you can be there, and there's still sometimes where you can still make mistakes that you don't even want to see, or you don't see, just from that point of view. And that's exactly the thing. The biggest problem in League of Legends when someone has higher elo than you is that they assume that you are bad directly, like, you're worse than me, this is it. Don't ever. The only assumption you should make are assumptions based on logic and fact. For instance, the AP mid has pulled red, or the AP me has leashed blue. Now, this is an assumption you can make because it's an assumption based on logic, based on trial and error, based on skill, based on something you saw. But you cannot assume that someone plays better if you have never played a game with him before, because this will always result in something really bad, something that you have no power over, and it'll just go out of proportions. So now I will take some questions about the Dunning-Krueger effect, so you can write questions to me in the chat, or in the chat on the stream, or in League of Legends. I am Shadowgazer. I will create something called the lag chat, and in there I can answer any questions on EU West, that is. People from EU East, please go into the On3D chat and ask me questions there. There we go. So are there any questions about the Dunning-Krueger effect? The silence is killing me. Well, actually, I'm the only one talking here anyway, so. The lag chat is written with all parts together, just the lag chat. So if you have any questions, go there and ask me them. Uh, will I play more on stream? It's not a question, but I'm guessing that someone will ask. Yes, I'm planning on streaming a hell of a lot more. It's just that this is a daily. I will be recording one of these each day. Some of them will show mechanics and so on and so on to improve the overall experience, meaning that I will play games and like dissect them for some dailies, while for others it will be mainly psychological, like this one. Not psychological, but a game term one, theoretical. And well, if there are no other questions, I thank you for watching the daily itself. I will now turn back on the music and play a 1v1 versus Does This Work? So if there's any questions, you can email me them to me on to my email, which is so if you have any questions, just email it here. I will answer them. If you have any replays you want to analyze, want me to analyze, just send them here and I'll come back to you. Just add your summoner name and what server you're playing on. I will contact you once I'm done. Well, once I'm done with analyzing or answering the question and reply to you as soon as possible. Well, thank you for watching this daily. I'm Shadow Gazer, aka I'm Russian I Lag, and thank you for watching. Now let's get back to the fun now. Let's play some more games.